Hey everybody, welcome to Muscle Monday. Today we're talking about detraining, aerobic, and strength, and we'll find out if there's a magic pill even that will reduce the symptoms of detraining. Let's get to it. So why do we detrain? It's based off the principle of reversibility, okay? And what that means is whatever we do to the body can be undone. We make our muscles bigger, they get small, back to their normal resting state because it's more efficient, okay? Our body wants homeostasis, it wants efficiency. We're gonna focus on a few of the systems in the body today, and those are gonna include VO2 max, heart rate max, cardiac output. We'll get into some muscle memory and a return to training, and we'll cover whether there's a magic pill that can offset some of these changes. So aerobic detraining, we'll start with first. The rate of decline is directly related to the percent of detraining that you're doing, okay? So however much you have stopped training compared to your training load previously, okay? There's less stimuli. 10% reduction. There's no real change in conditioning and gains return quickly. So this top line here, purple, right? And basically, I would treat that as a recovery block between your 4-week trainings, right? 50% reduction, a little bit more on that blue line. It's a 5 to 10% detraining effect. So of all those effects we're gonna go through here, there's 5 to 10% of those total effects. So still not a huge time commitment to get back to that previous level of fitness, but it's still gonna be a little bit of work to get back there. I would refer to that one as more of like a post-race effect. So you're gonna take some time off of Ironman, half Iron, a full marathon, whatever race is your goal. You're gonna take some time off after that. Reduce your training, of course, to allow that recovery to happen, and then you can get back to it. 70% reduction, 15 to 20% loss of fitness, okay? And it takes weeks to recover back to that previous level of fitness. Bed rest, something all athletes hate. Think, some of us like to relax and lay down for a bit. So there's a lot of the high performers out there that don't want to take time off, and this is what they think is gonna happen when they're taking this much time off, okay? This is bed rest. It's a severe drop in the training stimuli that you have, and it can take months to get back to where you were previously. So we'll get into a little bit of the systems here, okay? First one's going to be insulin sensitivity. It's pretty important, especially for those of you who have been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So with insulin sensitivity, in under 7 days, there was a reduction between 17 and 33%. That's a drastic decrease in your muscle's ability to uptake glucose. That is because there's reduced GLUT4 activation. If you don't know what GLUT4 is, GLUT4 acts like insulin. If you don't know what insulin tells your cells to let glucose, sugar, into the cells to be stored, okay? When glucose hangs around in the bloodstream for too long, it damages arteries. So that's why it's so important to get it out of those arteries and into the cells where it can be converted to glycogen and stored for future use, okay? So again, type 2 diabetes, if those who have been diagnosed with that need to take time off of exercising, talk to your doctor, nutritionist, dietitian, and get some help with how you can manage your diet before you get back to exercising. Ventilation, the rate at which we breathe, okay? There is an increase in ventilation due to some of the other parameters that we're going to talk about here, okay? Heart rate max, the maximum beats per minute your heart can go, it reduces, but so does your resting heart rate, which is extremely cool. VO2 max, there's a reduction of 4 to 20% within 7 to 10 days. And this is the big one, because we've linked VO2 max with performance. And if you have a higher VO2 max, as long as your economy is good, you're gonna have really good times in your respective events. Again, aerobic things here, right? Cardiac output, stroke volume times heart rate. Your blood has a limited amount of capacity inside of it. It can expand, become more elastic with training, so that it can pump out more out of the left ventricle. That left ventricle will also increase in size, so it will become elastic and increase in thickness. Okay, so when we are detraining, that thickness goes away and it doesn't allow as much blood into it as possible, so it becomes a little more rigid. And within 7 to 10 days, you're losing a cardiac output of about 9% or less. Enzymes. Okay, enzymes are very important. Enzymes are catalysts. They increase the speed at which chemical reactions happen within the body. Okay, and those are very important. We want lots of chemical reactions happening all the time. The proper ones, of course. The focus here is on succinate dehydrogenase, which is really important in the citric acid cycle within the mitochondria and with aerobic metabolism. Okay, it plays a large role in the production of ATP, which is our energy source, adenosine triphosphate. Okay, and that succinate dehydrogenase is downregulated with a lack of stimuli. Okay, we'll get into capillarization here. So what capillarization is, while you're training, the blood vessels need to get more oxygen and blood and nutrients to the working muscles. So when you detrain, all of those blood vessels and capillaries that went into the muscle, you reduce that about 50% from that fitness level. Okay. The cool thing about this though is you'll never go back down to a baseline of capillarization pre-training. Myoglobin, we're going to talk about, it is unchanged. Very cool, right? What is myoglobin? It is an iron and oxygen binding protein, and it's related distantly to hemoglobin in your red blood cells. The things that carry oxygen within the blood cells, we have a skeletal muscle type of cell that holds on to oxygen. Cardiac hypertrophy, back to the heart, right? The left ventricle atrophies, and it's about 20 to 25% within 2 to 3 weeks. So those are the changes that happen aerobically for endurance athletes. Okay? Now we're on to strength. Strength athletes have it a little bit easier. Studies are showing you can take 3 weeks off. 3 weeks before any losses occur. So all the gym guys out there, all the gym gals, I'm gonna lose my gains. No, you're not. You're gonna lose some size, but that's mostly due to the storage of glycogen and water. Okay, so they'll atrophy, but you're not actually losing anything important at that point. Okay, it's very important that older athletes, if they can, keep up some activity while they're in one of these detraining phases, right? Because older athletes do lose that fitness a little bit quicker. We've also got a reduction in the mitochondrial size and efficiency, the things that the organelles inside the cells that produce ATP and give us that energy, right? And we're also going to be lower in phosphocreatine for those strength athletes. Neural connection from the brain to the muscles. Okay, there is a loss of motor recruitment due to a loss of action potential signals, so less fibers are activating, and we're also seeing a reduction in growth hormone, testosterone, and insulin-like growth factor, which means there's a reduction in tissue growth and development. We see an increase in slow twitch fibers in a cross-sectional area, so you're losing some fiber tissues that are meant for power and strength, and you're getting more of those endurance type fibers. They'll convert back. So how do we reduce this detraining, this deconditioning that's happening? So if you're injured on your left side, you will continue to work out on your right. There is a crossover neuroadaptation that happens that reduces the amount of detraining effects if you're working out the opposite side of your body. Fantastic, right? If you're not injured, then reduce frequency and duration on your workouts, but keep the same intensity. If you were completing, say, a 400-meter effort in a minute 20, okay, you're just going to reduce the amount you do and shorten up that workout. Keep that same intensity though. injury full stop right here where we have massive bed rest. Let's focus on nutrition to keep the body fed, okay? And if you're injured from running, you can bike, you can get in the pool, and you can aqua jog. Those things are all really good for that cross training effect. Muscle memory. This one's really cool. So we have the ability to regain losses in fitness faster than when we first tried to build that fitness level. So that is due to myonuclei. Skeletal muscle is multinucleated, which means it has more than one nucleus. And as we exercise and work out, we stimulate it to produce more nuclei. So when that happens and we get injured, the myonuclei stick around, but the muscle shrinks, it atrophies. But all of those built up new nuclei stick around. So that allows us to come back to that previous training level a lot quicker. The myonuclei effects, they last a very long time. Studies are showing 7 weeks, greater than 7 weeks, but we know we've seen this anecdotally. People who were really good in high school at their respective sport, they come back to it in their 30s. It takes them much less time than if they were a new person trying to start this thing. You know, those people that show up, they're like, oh, I haven't done this for 10 years, and they're still faster than you. Everybody dislikes those people. That's what's happening. They've trained so well before that myonuclei is still around, and it's allowing them to advance much quicker than starting from scratch. Is there a magic pill? The answer to this is more often than not, no. But there is something on the market that actually helps build VO2 max. It's scientifically based, and it is from First Endurance. Okay, it is Optygen. For us athletes out there, what we want to do is not take any of the no-name stuff. Okay, we want to make sure that what we're putting into our body is pure. It's tested, so there are no banned substances in it, so that if we get tested on race day or before, any time around race day for those professionals, right, that we want to make sure that we don't have any banned substances in our body. The stuff from First Endurance, it is safe, it is clean, and the Cordyceps militaris, which is what it is, it's a mushroom, and it's a powder in its form that you get. It helps build VO2 max. I don't know if there's any studies out there that say if you've got bed rest and you're doing this, you take this pill, it builds it up for you. But I know I was just on a break, you know, all the stuff happening with COVID, and I kept taking that, and I was able to come back from some of those losses a little quicker. Now that's me personally. I don't know of any studies that say if you've got bed rest that you can take this and you're all good, right? But Cordyceps militaris has the ability to increase VO2 max. So, in conclusion for this Muscle Monday, don't get injured, don't get sick, don't have any bed rest, especially bed rest, because it will take a long time to come back from that. And this breaks my heart, because whenever we get injured, whenever we get sick, whenever there's any time of stopping training or we start a sport late in life, we will never really truly reach our full potential. Unless you start when you're young, safely, and you progress without injury or illness, that's about as close to you can get to reaching your full potential as possible. And I would love if we could all have that, right? Then we could see how much faster, much more powerful, how much further the human body can go. Thanks for joining me today on Muscle Monday. We learned a little bit about detraining and how to combat it. We'll see you next week.